Hello, friends, and welcome to the morning edition of Bible study. We are in the Niv. We are in chapter 9. We are doing all of chapter 9. So we are going to be reading verse 1 through verse 38. So let's get started. Jesus heals a paralytic. Chapter 9, verse 1. Jesus stepped into a boat, crossed over, and came into his own town. So that would be Nazareth, right? Because that's where he's from. Some men brought him to a paralytic lying on a mat. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, son, your sins are forgiven." At this, some of the teachers of the law said to themselves, "This fellow is blaspheming." Knowing their thoughts, Jesus said, "Why do you entertain such evil thoughts in your hearts?" So, Jesus could tell what they were thinking. Now, whether that's because their facial expressions were very clear or he could read their thoughts, I don't know. Which is easier to say? Your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk. But so that you may know that the Son of Man has the authority on earth to forgive sins, then he said to the paralytic, "Get up, take your mat, and go home." And the man got up and went home. When the crowd saw this, they were filled with awe, and they praised God who had given such authority to men. So, you should know that, in this particular culture at that time period, if you were a paralyzed person, or you were an orphan, or you were a widow, you were basically allowed to legally beg. And the way the culture is set up is they're supposed to take care of you. Firstly, the church itself, the Pharisees, right? The Sanhedrin, that whole thing is supposed to, those types of donations are supposed to be taking care of the widows and orphans and, the paralytics and all that kind of stuff, because there was certain types of genetic diseases, Tay-Sachs being what I'm talking about here, where it was really very much so like that, where they were just people, because they didn't have, cures for this stuff, that were paralyzed from birth genetically. And there was nothing that could really be done about it. So for them, this is a very big deal. The calling of Matthew. Verse 9. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at a tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came, or she uses double quotes, sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked the disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But to go and learn what this means, I desire mercy, not sacrifice." That's Hosea 6:6. "For I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners." So Jesus was here to heal the sick and to bring the sinners back into faith, and not here to tend to those who are holier than thou, or the righteous. Okay? Jesus questioned about fasting. Verse 14. Then John's disciples, that's John the Baptist, came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not?" How come you don't have to? How come you don't do everything that we feel we have to do? Because we've decided you have to do what we feel makes people look holy. I'm sure we've all encountered that. Jesus answered, "How can the guest of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunken cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making it tear worse. Neither do men pour new wine into old wineskins, which I know this is like a what? Because we don't really use wineskins. But you wouldn't want it to burst. If they do, the skins will burst. The wine will run out and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved. Because this is back from a time before we had, bottles like that. Like, I don't know what time in history blown glass or any of the glass making found its way into Jerusalem, which of course it eventually did, because most of these things do. But at that time, everything was clay, or it was, sewn like leather kind of stuff. A dead girl and a sick woman. Verse 18. While he was saying this, a ruler came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died. But come and put your hands on her and she will live." Jesus got up and went with him, and so did the disciples. Just then, a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." Jesus turned and saw her. "Take heart, daughter," he said. "Your faith has healed you." And the woman was healed from that moment. Now, it's a very big deal, because when they say it was bleeding, they mean basically she had her menstrual cycle for 12 years. And in the Jewish faith, well, when she was in the middle of her menstrual cycle, she was considered unclean. And she needed to get herself a mikvah bath, like a whole dunk, like rebaptize yourself at the end of every menstrual cycle. Or in any time, any sort of, like, you sweat or any of the rest of that stuff, because it's all in the Old Testament, because he was teaching them how to be clean, because they didn't know what germs were. So he was telling them how often they need to wash. So for her, this is a very big deal. And if you're a female, you would know what this would be like. How exhausting that must be. When Jesus entered the ruler's house and he saw the flute players and the noisy crowd, he said, "Go away. The girl is not dead, but asleep." They laughed at him. After the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took the girl by the hand, and she got up. News of this spread throughout the whole region. Now, the flute players and all that kind of stuff and the noisy crowd. Professional mourning was also a thing. You would hire these people to come through and mourn for your family if you didn't have a big enough of a crowd to properly give the emotional mourning response for your dead, because there was also that. Jesus heals the blind and the mute. Verse 27. As Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, calling out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he had gone indoors, the blind man came to him, and he asked them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" "Yes, Lord," they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith, it will be done to you." And their sight was restored. Jesus warned them sternly, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread the news about him all over the region.